Finke Desert Race Tour. Well, it's June, it's a Queen's Birthday long weekend, and you would normally think that it's a full motorsport event and it attracts just motorsport people, but we get people from all walks of life. But obviously the common denominator is that we all like motorcycles and riding motorcycles. But it's a great event to go and watch and to incorporate that trip with crossing the Simpson Desert. So on this tour, your Rex flight from Brisbane to Birdsville is included in your price. You arrive in Birdsville, you have a look around the iconic pub there in Birdsville, and we make our way on the QAA line. But initially, that first 40 k's out of Birdsville, we head out to Big Red. You have a look around, beautiful scenery, amazing to sit up there on top of Big Red and look where you're about to head off on that little single track into the desert. QAA line's a good starter, a lot of dunes, a lot of crests. So we're constantly making calls on the UHF through there, keeping everyone safe. Eventually, at the end of the QAA line, we see Lake Popple, which is just a stunning scenery there in the desert. And we ride around Lake Popple for quite some time before we ride up the dunes and into Popple Corner, where the three states meet. That day, we ride about another 40 kilometres from there before we set up camp. And it's a good day, a full day, and we camped there that night, a great camp. The winter nights are cold in the desert, so you rug up, but makes for awesome campfires as well. The next morning, we have a few options, and those options are available depending on what's happened through the summer with the winds, obviously with the weather as well. Last year we had some flooding, and it was up to the last moment before decisions are made which way we were going to go. So we wait for that to happen, and when we arrive in Birdsville and make those decisions. But all in all, either way, it's an awesome day that day. And we finish up in a little place we've named the Thunderdome. It's great scenery there with a big bowl around us, and we camp in there the night. And the ride into there that day, on that second day, has just got some really big dunes and some great sandy sections and some big climbs and descents as well, which make it a lot of fun. From there that day, we start to ride out of the desert as it starts to dwindle a little bit towards Dalhousie Springs for that swim in the hot springs there. And from there, you start to see a bit of rock, a bit of that gibber country on our run into Mount Dare, whereas that's our camp for the night. The dingoes are normally there that night. They howl, it's cold, great fire. The team, they put on an awesome feed. It's just a good evening all round. Next morning out of there, pretty flat, open country again, a bit of that gibber country before we work our way into Finke. Finke's great for you to have a look at where the race heads to on the first day when it leaves Alice and heads to Finke. All the teens will be camping down there in a few days' time after we leave there. But we make our way from there towards Oramina Station, which is about 30 k's south of Alice. We camp at Oramina. We base ourselves at Oramina for the entirety of the tour then. And on that Friday night, we get shuttle bussed into town and see scrutineering, which is fantastic. You get up close with the drivers, the mechanics. You get to see the machinery, the cars, the buggies, or the trucks, the buggies and the bikes. Get to talk to them, and that's what makes the event so special. That night back at Oramina, next morning out to watch the prologue, and we leave that afternoon back to Oramina again and hang around camp and just have a lot of laughs. From there, on the first day of the race, we're up early because we're near the start line, and we watch them head south, and we enormous amount of competitors. We're out there all day watching them all head south, and it's just a great spectacle. Same on the next day. Even though they leave south pretty early, we get a little bit more of a sleep in, but we're out there early to watch them come through. And because we're near the start-finish line, we get a fair indication of who's caught who on that final day from their starting distances between each other. It's a great event. The final dinner at Oramina is amazing. Nikki and the family there put on a beautiful meal for us at the homestead on that final night. And the next day's breakfast, and we send you on the shuttle bus back to Alice Springs for you to fly home to your capital city. It's a great way, as I said at the beginning, to incorporate a desert trip with a bit of motorsport in the Northern Territory.